and it's hot. So it's heat. So now, you see, do you see something to do with history when you push on the push?
Yes.
Then there's send. Eh?
Yes.
Then there's the reservation history.
Yes.
You see three functions, right? So you see history, that means there's historical information before. Because when people keep, remember in the beginning we said one of the things is we have historic information to be able to, you have all the data accumulated from the different sets before. So you have a history of all disaster information, right? You may want to remind people or use that historical information to make a decision, to make a policy about disasters and so on, as a manager. So what you do is you click on history and the system is able to give you the historical what? Details of the information. In this case, you'll be seeing funny things because no person has already configured properly the historical what? Information. So when you hit on Excel version of this, and you can use it for making analysis. Are we seeing that? So that is the historical perspective of that. See, a manager is interested in having the history about all the disasters that have taken place. So you can be able to make analytics out of this and say, hey, at something like this, the disasters take place. So what I need to do with this kind of information? So you can even see that you can get the details. We are papers and we are still in history. So you want to go away from this. It says send. So what do we do with send? So
we are trying to get an alternative.
What we can do is to put it
But this one
from power.
Is this?
So let's keep it in the fan, pull it into the fan. So the next, after the historical information is send, it will log you, it will output for you. If you click on send, then it will give you a window that tells you to specify the country. In this case, we're talking about Uganda. And of course, this is here. We may say central Uganda. And then the city is Kampala. There is a Japanese word here, which we don't need. As I said, this has been developed. So when you are sending information, then you can be able to put the kind of information which you want to send and type. There is a text editor under the message. So here you can be able to send an image, you can be able to send a text and push this to people. And when you go down, it says a first push. A first push. In other words, whether people like it or not, you force them to what? Get that information. First of all, when you're sending just information, first push it to people. Then it will go to the project and people will be able to see that information. So that is a first push. So you select it, and you may want to send it another time, you do that. So what you do is, if you are very sure, then you can be able to send that information to people. After that, you can close. So, basically, as a manager, you may first push information to see people there. Whether they like to receive it or not, you send information about the disaster. So that's when the manager will take a decision. So basically here, remember, you get historical information, then you push information about the disaster. That's part of the text there. You can be able to
Not really.
the users of the system, right? So if the entire country is, everybody has that app, wherever they are, they will be able to receive the information. You see, that's like in WhatsApp group. When you post there, any person who is in the group receives what? The information, isn't it? So it's the same thing. I post that information. I'm doing it one, but it's going to everybody at the same time. Okay? Now the beauty about this is I may want it in a particular region. This information is about which area am I sending it about. So it also has that where content is for this region. So that's what the manager will do with the system. So still under post there was user, again after send is preserve the information. Remember you could preserve and send later. Remember, right? You preserve and send. So when you preserve information, then you can send it later. Sometimes you're not so sure about this information, right? So you must preserve it before you take it, then later you send it to people. So that's what again manager will be able to do with the information about the disaster. So after the push, the other one is disaster reports. Of course, now as a manager, people have sent disaster reports all over the place. Are we together? So again, what you may want to do is you may want to list all what they have sent you. So under the disaster reports, if you click on disaster reports under the manager, you see list. So what does the list do? The list gives you a list of all disasters, and also the next is the map. So all that has been posted. This is still being built properly. So you can see how many have been posted and the ID, the locations, and so on. Again, you as a disaster, as a manager can download them and be able to search information if you want to see. If I want information about Central Uganda, I can use the keyword and search information from the list of that information which people have sent. I go back, disaster reports. I can also get the map. There's where you get the map. Then you can be able to see the different informations from the map there. And as a manager, you have more things to do there. I can also collapse this side. Are you seeing that? So this arrow here means I can expand, I can collapse. And again, you can even see on top there are three. You have all categories, I can display them, and I can hide them. Okay? So this is it. If I click up on the all categories, it appears, or I can hide it. Then I can have this move like that. Then if I'm interested on a particular information which is captured on the disaster, I come to where it is. Now here we have 12 reports. I think in Central Uganda, this one here. So I can click on this 12 and get the report. So I can again move, scroll up and down. So you can see, I have 12 reports here. And I am able to see them. On this side. So this is what a manager will be able to see on this application. So this category is able to move up and down. Something has not gone right, just like the others. I see this. And what you see, there's a summary here. We have in total 557 reports. Out of this, the report which has got location information are 508. Then without location, right now there are no new reports coming off. So you get a summary of all the reports that are coming on the system as a manager. So basically this gives you more details about the reports which people are sending. It is one functionality what is not coming right now. It's just outputting this, but it's supposed to give you a full map of this. Let me see, okay, the disaster map that I see. Ideally speaking, I'm supposed to see all the reports, and the one functionality that's missing it actually allows me to be able to send from here a particular report to a particular person as a manager, or to the different people. I'm not seeing that functionality today. I don't know why. So this, I have the list, I have the map, and then we see download images. We may be interested in the, let me see, download the individual images, and say I download. So you may have a report and you want to see the image, and for maybe better analysis you can be able to download that report. This part of the application is still being built, so it will be so much, it's not so much refined as a matter of fact. So I've just downloaded so there are 6 reports which you can be able to download, images people have sent and so on. These are just prototypes which are being worked on, but once properly customized, you can download images depending on why you want that images and so on. So it tells you the size of the image and so on. So as I said, this part of the management is not something that's big. It's about pushing, getting the historical information, the one which you have preserved and not sent, and being able to send to people. So you get a list which is historical, and get all that people have sent to you. So as a manager, you can be able to do this and maybe resend if it is possible. So these are functionalities that are still being developed, just like the same thing. You pick as a manager, you may want to resend this information when you see somebody, I think somebody said this, avoid sitting under trees on the wind and the rainy days. So I'm just trying to, I think somebody sent that information there. So I really want to advise people, then I can resend. As the manager, I've received that information. I received that. It was one of you who sent this somewhere here. Okay? So I have seen that information, then I can resend it to people out. If I felt it is very important. So I can forcefully make people to receive it. As a manager, I do that. So this is basically what the management part of it. So I see the list of all the reports people have sent from all over the place, right? Then I also see the map as according to what people have sent. There is one function that is not outputting for me what I really wanted here. Let me see. 82 and 11 here. I'm not really seeing display all categories. It's only showing this. But ideally speaking, it's supposed to show me all the details and also allow me to send to people on the map. This map report allows me to send Or the way you saw the information and make the manager to respond or act on it, the user information that has been sent to them. So there's really nothing much apart from that. Consuming the information people have what? Sent you as a manager. So with that, I would say I have ended my presentation. Unless if there is questions. Yes.
I have question. Maybe it was answered, so I came to debate. We are talking about strengthening disaster prevention approaches in Eastern Africa. What qualifies as a disaster? This talked about in the presentation because I don't know what am I allowed to call a disaster? Are there any parameters or
We're about to get a disaster because there are those palm trees, I don't know if they are palm or what. You know, their leaves are so huge and big. Then to my dismay, one just came and fell near me. It was about to be a disaster. Assuming it hit me, that was a disaster in the morning. So maybe people can be able to answer what a disaster is and what qualifies to be a disaster.
The people of the green, whether it's an isolated event, you know, the scale also is important, and then the scale, the gravity, the extent, all those factors are taken into account. So an isolated event may not qualify to be a disaster, but we have what is common sometimes a hazard. There are so many, those are some of the considerations normally when we are defining. But let's hear from here again, another expert.
Thank you so much, Chair. Hazards. These are normally the scale is not big. It's like a tree that's a hazard. If a tree falling in, killing somebody, that's a hazard. But a disaster, the scale and magnitude is very big. 1, 2. There is loss of human life. If it occurs in the desert, maybe there is a land movement or a forest is down, but there is no loss of human life, that's not a disaster. But where there is a loss of human life, the magnitude is big, the scale is very big, it overwhelms a very big community, then that's a disaster.
I hope our understanding is now the things are becoming clear now. Okay. So any other contribution or any other comment or
think about a situation whereby people may have lost crops, may have lost animals, there is no human life lost. The previous speaker just said that if it involves loss of human life, it qualifies to be a disaster. How about if it is a huge chunk of land? It's still a disaster. Yeah, and when it comes to validating disasters, I had already started thinking of those small crimes in the village. Someone is beaten and he collapses. Then I report the case and take photos or what. So we need to look at the level of validation. What should we consider reportable? Both from the social perspective and then also the natural point of view.
okay, now that is again, I think, facilitator, trainer, you take the view of this kind of conversation. What is reportable under here? I mean, somebody has hit another one's head. Should that also be reported?
Qualified in terms of scale and so on. Then when the scale is not so high, it is considered a hazard. I think both a disaster and a hazard, which impacts on human life and the environment in one way or the other, needs to be reported. You may have one person who gets an accident And at the end of the day, in the perspective of scale, we may look at that as a hazard, an accident. But you see the impact maybe this one person has on other people is big, isn't it? So therefore needs, it needs reporting. So in this case, you see, part of the reason why we have this is that you need help. You need response, regardless of the kind of scale you have. So I think if somebody is involved in an accident, or maybe there is a case of something that is impacting on human life, or the environment, it's worth reporting something. But of course, we are saying is when it is disaster from the definition that came here, the scale must be big. But if when we're going here, there's a big tree falls on the road, and at the end of the day, it's stopping traffic, and then at the end of the day, there's going to be chaos where it is going to be. It can tantamount to a disaster. So I think what is to be reported on this is something that is likely to cause a catastrophe on a larger scale. It should be able to be reported on this platform. If you see lightning, if you see earthquakes, tremors, terrorism activities, drought, and so on, that is likely to cause problems. Then it is worth reporting so that action can be taken in advance. That is my view of what can be reported or what may not be reported. After all, what we want is something that helps us for decision making before it scales up. And then we're able to take information about it. But of course, that's why I was saying, when it comes to reporting, we need more training for people what to report, and how to report. And of course, maybe we can be able to make clarification about what we want to report, and the magnitude of this, and the need for quick action as far as the magnitude of the disaster is concerned. So that's my perspective of what can be reported. So any other questions?
In the presentations, we were informed that some work was done, and at least the disaster-prone areas are known. So I wanted Dr. to help us. Is it possible to have this information, for example, get it into the system so that we can also refer to it as either those cases will occur or as new ones come for that quick comparison. Is it possible? That's one. The other one is about public assurance. Government is very sensitive on how we report these disasters. If you have an earthquake and so many people die, we don't have authority to report. It must go through the official communication channels, and we know where that report must come from. So, supposing there is exaggeration which goes into the system, and then we are giving information out, it is accessed by everyone on the platform. And you know how social media has also been causing problems in this country and the world at large. So how do what kind of assurance do we have that our chatbot is not misused by some authorities that have got their own objectives? Thank you very much.
As I said, technology can be to sensationalize something. It could always be that there is no disaster. You see, in social media, people pick information from other countries, and they say it is happening in Uganda. If you are not somebody who is patient enough to then find the truth, you can act on the false information. So that indeed is true for social media. Therefore, sometimes as we adopt some of these things, it's very important to put the quality checks. As the information comes, it must go through a certain filter before it's consumed. And even that is part of the reason why you have the money to be part of this, where you have the ability to be able to delete information that is coming from the system as part of the quality check. And as I said, this is still a prototype of the whole system, but I think if we go into the real production environment of a system like that, there is really need for us to make sure that there is the quality checks of this, because some of the information can be misused. But at the same time, we also, maybe this is where UNESCO and my colleagues will come on board to say so. Sometimes we also want as much as possible to get information from the citizens. So the other question is, will the citizens be able to give you accurate information? So those are the balancing acts we need to see. How do we make sure that the right people are giving the right information? The other question you put about in terms of that, maybe if you can just jog back again in the presentation.
I was saying in the presentation, I think Dominic mentioned something on what UNESCO has done, and also there was a link, we will go into it and see the disaster-prone areas and the kind of disasters which are there. So we are saying, is it possible to have the mapped there? For example, what I know, Rani talked about lightning. We also have the table there. We lost, I think, 8 children. As we get new information about the disasters, because somehow, somewhere, Mr. Facilitator, if there is a lightning reported in a new area, that's why we begin asking ourselves about validity and the quality of what is being reported. So this can help us to benchmark the kind of disasters we expect to come up. Because if I hear lightning in an area which has not had that kind of disaster, then we could quickly begin doubting it. We put it for a lot of quality checks to ensure that it is the right information that is being reported. So my issue is the matching that one, that idea. It is like a historical information which we mentioned here in this platform. That historical kind of information, we have it mapped there.
Being able to record historical information, and you see, in different regions, and in any way, it will be possible, just as you see from different regions, based on the environment, you expect to have a very consistent type of disaster, right? So in region X, if it is prone to lightning, you'll get it. Region Y, maybe it is prone to landslides. So if there is another flat area, it is this, how do you expect this? So that again can be able to give us, of course, once you have that historical information, remember one of the key things about disaster is you have historical information, then you can be able to make analysis about the historical information to inform you for the current and the future, right? So that's why in each of these, you'll be able to see from the region the type of disaster that's happening. So how do we do this? The first thing is people need to report. You say it's the data that comes in, and the data that comes in must be accurate. So again, once it is accurate, then it helps us to see, to benchmark against different reports that will come, either now or in the future. That you see, but I think this is not possible in this area. If it happens so, then that can be a certain need for us to investigate further. Why is it happening in this area? Is there a change? So that's how it becomes very helpful once you have the information. So once the information is there, it becomes easy for us to make decisions. So part of the use of these tools is simply that. Yes, any other questions? And I hope that the objectives and the expectations have been met. Thank you.
Okay, of course, as I said, we feel further input. On what invite also the other two who have been going around with you there. What are their impressions about they were involved in training somewhere. Perhaps they can also give an appraisal of how this one has gone from the
Yes, I should, I think, start by again thanking Dr. John Omuzi for leading today almost single-handedly, actually single-handedly throughout the sessions. To be in front here and talking and going through all these things for those many hours. So, first of all, on my side, I appreciate the effort Dr. John has really put in to reach this stage, to ensure that he covers everything that was on the program to its completion. And I know that most of the participants have been able to follow through and accomplish most of the hands-on tasks, hence the skills that are needed to use this particular tool. So I can go on, but I believe that my colleague may be better at the evaluation of the sessions. But what I can say is that whenever we have these sessions on our side, we tend to learn as well. We don't come here to only go through most of these materials, but from your feedback, from the questions, the interactions, we tend to learn a lot. So, on the other hand, I would like to appreciate and I'm very grateful for your participation. All of you have been very active since morning up to now, and that means that the sessions have been really engaging. So as I said, we really learn a lot from the questions. As Dr. John said, for us this side, most of us are from the ICT area. The domain of disaster, we kind of ventured into it for some of us when they identified us to be trained municipal people, and then along the way we've been learning. So again today we've learned about this concept of disaster alone. What is disaster? We've had terms like hazards and so on, but I know that out there a number of studies have been done, and most of these things have been discussed. There may be agreements and disagreements, but as usual, in most cases, we try to come to some point where we have something that can work for any situation. So, without taking a lot of more time, let me thank all of you again. I'm very happy that I was here today. I've been able to learn quite something, a considerable number of things. Every time I go through these the manuals practically, my confidence increases, and the number of other things I consider may be valuable to the Ugandan context. So thank you very much, all of you, for making it today and for participating. So as well, I hope that the objectives or your expectations have been met. But if they have not been met, we are always available. Dominic is always available. There's always that communication still open. We are always ready to interact and learn from each other.
Sometimes I try to run away from the fact that most of the times I'm a lecturer. And so one of the ways I evaluate is by asking questions. So I will look for a very simple question to the team. How many of you are confident that you can train another? You can train somebody else, because if We are master trainers. You are a trainer of trainers, meaning you are going out there to train somebody else. So look at your neighbor, give them a smile, even though you have a mask on, and then you ask them, are you confident to train another? And then you put up your hand if you're confident. I'm not saying hands. Yes. Dr. John needs to go back knowing he has done a good job. And one of the ways we can be assured is if we have hands up. Hands up. So we want to thank you for a good job done. One of the participants was asking, if I go out there, will I be able to train somebody else? Sometimes you never know how much you have until you are faced with an opportunity to tell somebody else about it. Then you will see the gaps you have, and then you will also be able to see how well you understood. So I want to pat you on the back and say, yes, you can. So we also didn't know how much we knew from the online training we received until we went out there. And the interesting thing about being a trainer is that you will get solutions on the fly. When the trainee asks you something and you have never faced it, we believe that you have the capacity to be able to get a solution for them. So look at your neighbor and say, yes, you can. And now you will all together say, yes, we can. Yes. Thank you very much, because we as a team will be endeavoring to use the risk of disasters in the country by seeing how much we report, and as the recommendations we have made, one of the things I'm going home with, actually two, is about the Kobo tool. One of the recommendations is actually to look at the attributes they are in and see how they can be incorporated in the AI chatbot to ensure that we get quality reports on disaster. Secondly, I'm going with the fact that I need to look at this tool to ensure one of the ways of handling disaster is by scoping it. The conversation I was having with one of us who comes from tourism is that it is wide enough on its own. So how do you scope the kind of your reachability so that it's manageable enough? So even as we are on this particular project of step here, we need to be able to see in project management in the IT world, we look at how to break the project into manageable pieces so that you can be effective in managing it. So even us, we were broken up in teams to make sure we span the whole Uganda. And even as we are going out there, in our different sectors, education, tourism, in OPM, dealing with our refugees and blah, blah, all of us have quite a huge load. But we can create small communities in our different sectors to be able to address effectively the disasters that relate to us and contribute as well to other sectors. Having said that, I will not say too much. I would like to wish you a good afternoon. Thank you once again for coming out and being a contributor for the future of this country.
Thank you very much for that. So, we want to thank all of you for this thing. First of all, the master trainers led by Dr. John Yao, and then the two colleagues. We have not been able to get the other three, not the other four. I told you the two in OPM involved in the launch of the SDG, and then the other thing, right from the beginning, this is a training of trainers. So you have been trained. First, we are the master trainers who are here, you have seen them. Now the master trainers have imparted the knowledge and skills to you. Now you are also going to your institutions. You are going back to your institutions, to your districts, and we have told you that the first entry point is a what? The disaster committee. But some of you say you don't have disaster management committees in your expectation. So the question is, what do we do? This perhaps would be an opportunity to start forming one. One of the problems, in your number, for example, here we have 2 regions. We have a full region plus a sub-region. Because Bunyoro is a sub-region, not a... But Central is a full region. We should have had more people than this. But the problem is, as I shared some time back, a number of there was a deployment of chief administrative officers around May there. Some of them, when they got to their new locations, the information they said was, which they told us when we started calling them individually, you are not nominating what's happened. And they say, no, I am still new here. I don't know whether a disaster committee exists, because I am now 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I've reported, but I've not heard about that committee existing. So that is already a challenge. It means even if it is there, it's not active. Isn't it? That's why a cow who has stayed 2-3 months still has not heard about it. It means the disaster committees are not. I know they normally become active when disasters strike. Maybe because there are no disasters, there is no sense. But now, if the OPM people, the other team was here, if they were not taken, that's what they told you, because we were with them in Gulu. And we were saying there is something called the NECOP. You must have heard. National, disaster preparedness something coordination committee. I think they're either changing the name or trying to put a structure, which is supposed to now coordinate, which is in the offing. I think it's a new plan. So now you people will be like the yeast. You now go and become like yeast. You become and start this process. Because now the people we are going to first address are the UN disaster committees. If it is not existent, you now have to liaise with the chief administrative officer to start for one. There is a guideline of who are the people to sit on that one, on that committee. So using the guideline is to be able to start that. That is the first thing. But of course, you start with a report to the camp. As soon as you get there, we have told you, please dress the way you are when you are going to the camp. And then you make the report. And then the recommendations, I think one of the recommendations is very clear, unless the others that we make sure this knowledge is passed to others. For those of you from the NGO world and civil society, I know, I don't know what you call yours, the other ones call theirs, there is that directorate, or whatever you call it, or a sector, but some NGOs are entirely for disaster anyway. So it means that your task is to make this knowledge go through, right? The ones who are going to do most of the reporting and make sure that happens. What this means is that immediately we are putting in place a program. Okay? I told you initially we are supposed to come there, but we couldn't come there to everybody. We want to trust you to do what we would have done if we came there. You get that point? We are trusting you to do what we would have done if we came there. And therefore, the task remaining on us is to follow up. Tell us, should we come after 1 month? Should we come after 2 months? I want your commitment. How long should we take before we come there to follow up whether you have done your work? Hey, you want to call? That one is indefinite. Is that okay? Is that a good thing? Is that we will call you? Can somebody suggest? Yes, yeah, thank you. Yes, Second week of November, that means you have given us one more than a month. The whole of October, then we are left about 2 weeks. Then the other 2 weeks, that's 2 months. So after 2 months, we are coming. Okay, where should we start? That is, we start in Mubende. That is very good. And then the rest of you will follow. I think from Mubende, Oima is in here. I don't know which one is in here. Kakumiro, Kasana. No, but we start. Where is Vitiana?
Vijana is first.
Vitiana has not come. Okay. Now, the other task we have, of course, within the 2 months. Those which are not come like Vitiana and the others, our task again is how we get those who have lost out. Because in Barara, the day we left in Barara, we reached here, we started getting calls. The colleagues have told them, for us we have done this training. Then they started going, oh, for us we missed. The cow never told us, can we also come? And that kind of thing. So maybe within the 2 months you have given us, we have opportunity to get the others, so that when we draw a program, it will be conclusive. So we are going to come there, we draw a program, send it to you. That is a factors remaining constant. Do you know now the situation is a bit unpredictable? Much as we have been saying here, we keep SOPs and so on. If we are not surprised by a third wave or something, then we'll be able to come there. In 2 ways, and these people are available, our master trainers are here, and I've told them already to be on standby anytime we call upon them. Where you are getting challenges, please keep the communication coming during the training. Let us know what challenges you are facing so that we factor it in when we are doing our follow-up. And we have our trainers and we call them. Together we go for that follow-up. So I hope that is all. Unless there are other issues which are not being discussed. Okay.
A vote of thanks to you, Doctor, and Doctor from Chambo University, who facilitated most of the training part of today. But I have something small. I'll ask for your guidance. Maybe it's not really responded to in this forum. You can do it maybe bilaterally. I would like to know whether there is a roadmap as regards to maybe finalizing the testing of this tool, because we all accept that this tool is very good. And sometimes good initiatives come and they stop on training. So for us as practitioners, people who apply this kind of solutions, we would like to know if there is a roadmap, like maybe a time frame for finishing the testing, then maybe one for rolling it out as an actual tool, which people can eventually start using. That's very important, and that's the question that I'll be asked when I go back where I'm coming from. Secondly, I think it is also important for you to help us paint the picture of what it would take for an organization like Uganda Red Cross Society to adopt this technology and have it as a main technology for disaster reporting. We have very many things that we are testing, including other parallel systems which have also chatbots. But we keep holding back because we want something that is good enough and is sustainable. So we would like you to help us to paint that picture on how we can get this technology and even use it within our reporting. Maybe things of cost implications, setting up like that specific platform for managers so that we can be able to manage this data. Or can we have an integrated one where the ones for DDMCs look into the ones of OPM. You mentioned NECO, the National Emergency Coordination and Operations Center, which I'm aware there is a pilot. I think that's what you're talking about. NECO is being decentralized, and they're starting in about 11 districts down there, including Kasese, which is our focus district. So, do we have this system? Do we have a bigger plan to see how this is integrated into, the other kind of coordination mechanisms and the systems that are being set to the other side? Thank you very much.
Since our agencies, supposing because like how we say we don't have money, maybe we don't have money for this, just management. My colleagues are aware about that. We don't have money for it. Our bishop was here to help us on this, how to mobilize resources, at least have some modest budget that will help us run some of the activities of disaster. In November we had floods, and it was not for Red Cross. Someone is saying, this is my mandate. Yes, we have a mandate there as local governments. And that's why, if you go to the guidelines, okay, then that's okay. So, but if you go to the guidelines, you will see there is a role we are supposed to play as local governments. So how do we get support? Now, if we go to some training, I don't know whether facilitators can be able to come down if we call upon them at no cost from the local government. Because we are likely to invite them to help us in the mobilization and sensitizations. When I was coming, my cow said, probably if APM was around, again it goes to what my colleague is trying to say here, mandate. My cow was saying, how do we harmonize disaster management activities and this local government vis-a-vis what now is being done by APM in the state? That harmonization, I think, has got some issues. I think there was planned from the COVID-19 pandemic. It was a disaster. How it was being managed should have been tackled by the DDMCs, but you see the task forces which came in were almost a duplication. So if we had a disaster management committee, why would we put in place a task force? And indeed, if you look at the task force, it had all the members that constitute the district disaster management committee. So that harmonization and putting things right, I think is still an issue.
He has reminded me what also my cow alluded to before when I was to come. I talked about the district disaster preparedness plan. As a district, for us, we do not have it. And of course, it is very critical. I don't know whether you can help in that or probably chat with the Office of the Prime Minister to have this done. Thank you.
Again, as some of the speakers who spoke before said, when we come like this, they also, by way of picking issues that you raise, it also is an eye-opener, it's also learning, it also gives opportunity for any raising your hand on this topic. So we have taken note of this, and we are also going to engage with the other people and some of these as a way of recommendations of this training. We also give feedback because we have a report to write as to how this thing has gone, feedback from the trainees. So some of these issues will form good package within our recommendations as part of the proceedings of this. So with those comments, and given that we are nearing the time that we should be usually going home, I want to thank you on behalf of these trainers and express our continuing support. And we have already told you, please keep in touch. In the event of any need, we'll always be able to get the necessary support on this particular subject. For administrative issues, after the closing remarks have been made, there's a young man seated there who is holding the head. Maybe you will start with people who are from far. especially those from the Nyoro region, then we come to Mbele side, is it Semagule? I don't know. But we also have something like this, I don't know, Zingiro. Maybe we finish with the people of Kampala, something like that. So that young man will handle your issues. So at this juncture, let me see, have you all finished the appraisal? I mean, evaluation, yes. Can we please, they can get easily mixed up in your documents. Then put them aside and please answer that whoever, okay, Polly, whoever is there, help and correct this. The proceedings, some of these, so on, we will see the presentations and all these other things which are relevant for you to refer to as a reference. We'll forward them. Make sure your emails are well written. You know, we have a problem of bouncing emails. Even in the invitations, we saw some emails bouncing. So write your emails well. We are going to share with you some of these materials which are being presented here, and they will form part of your reference material. With those remarks, I allow me now to invite the Secretary General to make her remarks and then close this.
We have come to the end of a long one-day training, and it is now time for us to say a few things and let you go. In today's training, I am sure that you have appreciated. Allow me to remove your mask, although Dominic fears the cover. It's terrible making a speech through a mask. You will appreciate, and I'm sure you have noted, especially those of you who come from disaster-prone areas, that disasters affect our political, social, and economic livelihood. And if you begin unpacking, look at the social aspect, you'll note the human being is at the center of the social aspect. It will affect the health sector, the education sector, the human being's livelihood in totality. You have, without even drawing examples, noted where disasters have appeared or happened in, for example, Ududa, lives have been lost, people are buried alive. You can imagine such a horrendous experience. Houses are shattered, mud just rolls down and covers a school, for example, a health center. A husband may be killed and then the wife or children may survive. So how do these people continue living normally? You have noted how government has tried to resettle them, some with success, some without success, because they are used to living where they have always been. When you go to Kilembe, every year, it is like people don't know. By now they would know that in a certain month of the year, there's likely to be a flash flood in that area. But when it happens, it takes everybody by surprise. Everybody is caught pants down, and lives are lost, buildings destroyed, and many, many other casualties. So, ladies and gentlemen, this kind of training that we have had, notwithstanding examples that Mr. Kajumba will give with the school setting, disasters naturally affect the continuity of learning. And that's why we have him here. Because I'm sure now, Mr. Kajumba, you're a better focal point person than before. You'll be able to maybe train a number of other people, because when we are looking for you, for somebody, the only name everybody would know not is Mr. Joseph Kajumba. Can we now have many others join this team so that, we have a bigger team that can address issues of disaster within the education system. And that, of course, applies to the rest of us who are in the districts. So this kind of training, like I was saying, is now supposed to address how we can reduce disasters, occurrences, not where they are happening, send early warning signs using artificial intelligence to be able to reduce the impact, because some of the happenings may be so natural that we may not very easily curb them down, but we can reduce the impact and therefore save more lives, save property, and perhaps other things that come along with the disaster. So I would like to appreciate you participants, because even if UNESCO had sent us the funds, and if we had trained the master trainers and told them, now you have people to train, and if you didn't appear, this kind of workshop would have been meaningless. So you are very important stakeholders, and we appreciate the fact that you have turned up. We have had 100% turn up, and we are very happy. And we know that you value your kind of engagement in as far as disaster risk reduction is concerned. So you can commend yourselves and clap for yourselves. I would like to thank the master trainers. They are very busy people. The whole of last week they were in the field with our team, and today they are here. Thank you very much, the trainers, for availing yourselves for this important training. We still think that this engagement will not end with today's training. We think that whenever we have an issue, you will continue to backstop, because it is about lifelong learning. And I found it interesting. I joined the logging in. I found it very interesting, and it is something that we could continue engaging with, even with the final national training that we are having today. So thank you very much for accepting to engage with us in this endeavor. Allow me also to thank the UNESCO and Japan government for funding and for giving us the technical expertise, because they trained the master trainers. Thank you very much, and I hope it is documented. They should have joined us online. We urge, especially the contemporary issues being shared here. I had one of the issues being shared is the issue of reporting. How do we ensure that we report issues of disaster to make meaning, to make sense? Because sometimes people report and escalate, make it something, blow it out of proportion. And yet it could have been something that could have been handled. For example, the issue that our facilitator gave an example of the palm tree falling on him. How would it have been reported? If somebody blew it out of proportion, you could maybe see responses of an ambulance, of a fire brigade, or so many Red Cross and so many other things. So how do we report exactly, and what kind of rescue or response do we expect in our reporting? So I think, Dominic, I hope this is captured by the rapporteurs, because as a follow-up, honestly, we need to know how to report. you know. I happen to be a trained teacher of English language and literature, and reporting is part and parcel of the training. How you write, you know, the words you use, the expressions may or may not attract whatever response. May either be overzealous or nothing at all. So I think this is very important, and I'm very keen at this, and I think I would be one of the people to offer free support in this line of reporting. Finally, allow me to thank my colleagues. Dominic is the Assistant Secretary General. Maybe you should stand up, my colleagues. So we have Dominic. I call them by their first names, but he has a long sentence of a name. Mondrugo Ogo Lali Venture. Is that the first lesson with a number of approved projects? So there is a beehive of activities going on. So I just said now, lead this one. We do that a lot. When a program is overwhelmed, we begin sharing and we distribute. So Dominic, thank you for a good job. And I know you didn't work alone. You worked with a team. We have at the back, David Twebase, this time. He is the program officer for education. You can see, the programs are assigned, or the officers are assigned to programs. So David, thank you. Of course, you are key, like Mr. Kajuba, very key. Issues of disaster affect your section and affect continuity of learning. So thank you. Two program officers, natural science and social and human science. So she has a heavy load on her, and she combines both programs. That's how we have managed to come in to ensure things work and move on. Then we have in the middle our senior information scientist. She has been tweeting, she has been updating the website, she has been on social media. Your pictures are awash, So everybody knows you are here. And that's the beauty. She's at Hulda Angela, and she's just done a small write-up that I've approved. We're going to put it on our website. So when you get back home, Google www.unesco.uganda-uganda.ug. So you'll find yourselves and your story on our website. Then the young man has come to do the obvious. So we work as a team at the commission. We have, she has come to support us because once in a while, she's a focal point, once in a while she has to give feedback to the ministry. What do those UNESCO people, like they call us, what do those UNESCO people do? So Juliet, I hope you'll be able to tell them that our mandate stretches beyond education and goes as far as issues of disaster. Like I mentioned in my speech, the strategies are very clear, and this is just one of them in the National Science Program. So with this, I would like to thank you. Our doors will remain open for continuous, surely come. We never missed on that. We have said November, please be there. I'll tell you a story. One time we did an activity in one part of the country, and it was very nice, and people made commitments, and we told them we are coming back to see. And surely we went back to see. And I'm telling you, old men with big offices jumped in their vehicles and threw dust on us in the name of being very busy and engaged with other activities. So they literally ran away from us. This is what I'm saying. But I know you people will not, because even when we come, we are doing support supervision. We are not coming to, begin lecturing you or hold you accountable for what has not happened. So please receive us with the warmth that we deserve. So with this, I would like to close this workshop and wish you a safe journey back to your homes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So, I verify you pass on to Dennis, and they say the group, while the rest of us, the Chakwe, Jadono, Voodoo, can go with the other one. Now we're using the original.
Given us. You have given us a bag, which is brand new, very good. We are going to use it to carry whatever you have given us to our different stations. We are very grateful, and we shall also be very, very grateful because you saw some of us, the phones we are using, we are not trending. So if you can get an iPad, we shall be very grateful. We shall use it for purposes of ensuring that at least disasters are reduced in our respective areas where we come from. Thank you so much.